Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Zan Barksdale of Catching-101. Welcome back to another episode of Catching-101 TV. Super excited about today's guest, a guy that I've just met very recently. His name is Matt Ceriani. I read an article a couple of days ago, and as you guys know, I like to keep up with the latest tech and what's going on in the baseball world, and especially when there's a crossover between tech and catching, it catches my eye. So Matt has developed or is developing a very interesting product to help detect pop times and help give a more accurate reading than what's currently available. And also, he's a former Ole Miss Rebel. So, hotty toddy, Matt. Nice to have you on the show.
Awesome, Zan. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Hotty toddy, go Rebels. Yeah, man, I'm really glad they got Lane Kiffin over there. I'm excited to get out there and see a football game. It's been a few years, so
no doubt about that, man. You got to let me know if you
good
go and we
place
can
to be
plan it
from.
together.
I tell you that much.
That's right. That's right.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
Yeah. So really interesting. So the product that I read about and what you've been developing, it's called caught stealing, and it's for lack of a better word, I'll let you go into more detail. It's an electronic device that players would put on their mitt and on their hand, and it's going to give a lot more detailed and accurate reading of pop time versus the old standard stopwatch, which we all know is very inaccurate. So that is the very general overview. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit more about the product. You know, if you want to start with, why you're developing it or how it came to be, and then kind of get into maybe the technical details of what exactly it does and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a catch and throw guy my whole career, obviously playing at Ole Miss, got a chance to play on Team USA before that. And then I've actually played for the Italian national team and 21 different pro teams. And the one thing that I saw throughout my entire career was that I was a really good pop time guy. And when I tell you that I throw a 1.8, like I'm legitimately throw a 1.8. And there weren't many guys that did. And when you saw me next to a guy that was throwing like a 2 flat, you're like, oh, that's okay. I get it. Well, the hardest thing for me to see other kids lying about pop times when I'm really am that good, I was that quick. It's almost like you're lying, and so in this day and age, I said, I got to figure out something that's going to help catchers get better, help coaches coach catchers, and then just get the cream to rise to the top. It's all about hard work. You have to get the mechanics down. You have to be able to know what you're doing. You have to be basically the best athlete you can underneath that gear, because it's cumbersome. It's a lot. You sweat a lot. It's hot. Playing in the SIP, for example, like Louisiana, Texas, some of these Florida, some of these hot places, if you're just good on a showcase day, how do you know what you're going to do in the ninth inning of a game that matters when the guy's going? So, this device is basically coming out there to get rid of all the fat. It's going to take away the guy who's not quick on the watch, or I've been behind the scouting that area back there behind home plate where they look at each other. What'd you get? What'd you get? And everybody's off. So it's the only inexact science that hasn't been addressed in the catching situation, and it's a real niche area. And I think we figured out through some science and through just the process of figuring out, well, how do we get these times to be accurate? And it's taken us over 2 years to develop this actual product. So we're in the last couple of weeks. Everything works great. We're just getting it down to the final programming stage, and we're going to put it on some major league players so that we know their times, what they are. We know what those guys are pretty close. We're going to see how close our device is to what other people think they really are. Because this thing, it's got an accelerometer in it. It senses vibrational activity to the nanosecond, really. And we're really excited. When I first got into talking to the engineering team that I hired, I actually had to ask them, can you do this? Is this something that you can do? And he said, yeah. We actually lost a scientist to Raytheon, which is the big, they build rockets down there in Tucson. And our main assistant, we've actually had so many hurdles to overcome in the process that to actually get to this point has been amazing. We had to put the article back a few months just because we're still getting hurdles done. We've got landmarks that we've accomplished every single month, And for me, it's been hard because I'm out there trying, telling people, hey, this thing's coming, it's there, it's ready. And it actually finally is. So that's been like a big weight off of our chest, because we've kept the secret for 5 years. Keeping a secret about anything, especially something that's so near to my heart, and was the reason I was signed, was because I was one of the better block and recover guys around. I was a really good throw guy. And like you, I wasn't the best hitter in the world. I ended up hitting 260 lifetime and had a couple really good years, but the defense is what kept me in the game. And it is what keeps good catchers in the game, is to be able to block the ball, catch it, throw them out, and not make mistakes. So this device is going to show kids that are in the middle of nowhere. You could be in South Dakota, you could be in Mississippi, you could be in the middle of nowhere in a Safeway parking lot, like the article says, and actually get real metrics that scouts and coaches can use. And the distance tracker on this thing goes down to an inch. So you can't fake distance, which is what happens when you get into these showcase camps. And these kids are sitting right on top of the plate and they're stepping halfway out into the dirt area. That doesn't happen in a real game, and those fractions of inches and feet are seconds. Time equals distance when you're talking about catching and the physics of it. I have a physiology degree from Ole Miss, so the exercise science department taught me a lot about biomechanics. And in my career, sitting in the bullpen watching, catching guys in the bullpen, you're allowed to try stuff. When you're in the game, sometimes you got to do what you're good at. But I had a lot of bullpen time. I was not always the number one guy. I was number two guy. I was number three guy on certain teams. Backed up Mike Piazza in the World Baseball Classic. I was the number three guy on that team, but got in the game. So it's like, as a catcher, you just got to throw your tools out there and be the best player you can. This device is going to see if a middle infielder is your best catching prospect. It's going to see if the guy that's got the big power arm can release the ball, and we're not just out there looking at that big cannon. So it kind of goes along with what I've taught as a catching coach. As a catcher, I just rolled right into that. As far as after my baseball career got done, I had too many injuries to talk about at the end. Neck injury, back injury, both shoulders have had surgery. So this is just going to help lower that curve for finding good players for coaches. And if you are a good player that's willing to put the work in and get better, this is going to be an opportunity for you to have a platform to recruit yourself anywhere you're capable of going. Like, not everybody's capable of going to the Division I level. Not everyone's capable of being a professional. I get that. But this is also going to give you a chance to get yourself as good as you can get just with a simple device. So we're making the monthly really affordable. We want everyone to use it. We're going to roll this into infielders for double play times as we get into the version 2 of this. There's a lot of buzz in Major League Baseball. A lot of people are really excited about what this is going to bring to catchers. And it's the one thing that everybody argues about all the time. And it's just, if you can bring transparency to a particular part of this sport that has never had transparency, I think then we're doing a good job. We're going to help kids the whole thing is about helping kids get to the right place.
Yeah, no doubt. So a lot to unpack there. You kind of covered a lot of things. I want to take it in small bites and take a step back. So there's definitely,
sometimes I get going.
That's all right. There's definitely a need for something like this. And I think as a guy who's a former college coach and recruiter and somebody who's still involved in it and working with guys, when you go to showcases now or you see, pop times listed on showcase websites, like you said, you see times listed at 175 of a sophomore in high school. And that's just completely unrealistic. It's just not true. So I've gotten away from using a stopwatch completely. What I mostly do now, which is a little bit more work, is I'll use a high-speed camera to determine the release time, and I'll use a radar gun to determine the velocity. And then, mathematically, if you know how fast the ball is going and you know how long it takes to get rid of it, you can figure out, a very, very accurate pop time. But it sounds like the device that you're coming up with is going to kind of simplify that process and make it super easy. So again, let's take it a step back. So I'm assuming that most of the people that are watching this video have not read the article and they really don't know, exactly what it does. Just give me the basic. What exactly does it do? How do you put it on your mitt? What kind of? I know you talked about the accelerometer, but let us know exactly what it does, and then we'll kind of go a little bit from there.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, you said it. It does those three things that you're talking about. Without the use of a high-speed camera, what we've done is the distance tracking technology is so accurate down to an inch on either side that when you catch the ball, it starts the clock. As you release it, the release trigger is on the wrist. It's inside of a neoprene wristband, basically a really simple wristband. Uh, and the product is teeny. It's very, very small. It's like the digit on your index finger. It's small. So it's got basically no footprint. It straps right to the back of the throwing wrist and to the back of the catcher's mitt. So the strap on the back of the hand, which is directly on the hand. So the vibration when the ball hits your glove, it goes directly into that accelerometer, starting clock A. Just like you would do, like I don't use a stopwatch either. I think they're archaic, and I can't really do it when I'm throwing kids stuff. I watch, I have a good eye for it. I've been doing it a long time, and I listen to sounds. I can listen to when the ball hits your glove, when your feet move, all that kind of stuff. And I'm a little bit, I'm on the ground. I'm like a guy who would be working with the pro guys for a pro team. I am only word of mouth. I only work with a few guys nowadays. And I think what the device is going to do is it does give you velocity on that same exact metric that you're talking about with distance. And then when you get the two different triggers and then the third trigger at the end, you basically have a triangle of times that you can figure out a few different metrics. And I asked him, I said, hey, look, just like you said, this should work if you do the proper math. And the guy looks at me, the scientist, he goes, yeah, it will, it'll work. And it does, and it has. And that's the thing, is that we're putting it now into a platform that's going to be profile based, so that all your times, as they're verified, they go to your platform, and then it keeps averages. You'll pop up on a list. So if you're, class of 2024 or 23 or whatever you are, coaches can go in and scout you through that platform on any metric. If they want guys that are only 1.9s and under, which is probably not going to be many guys, right? You'll see them at the top of the leaderboard. So guys that are actually 1.9s that think they're 1.75s, they're going to be a little disappointed at first, but then everybody else is going to be like, yeah, see, I told you so. And that's kind of where this device is going. It's got so many more things it can do. We're just starting with catchers. It's got application for every single position on the field for getting release times, especially middle infielders, outfield release times. Not quite as important, obviously. Those are your big boppers out there and your speed guys. But catchers can be the best athlete on the field. And if you have a metric that can show you, does my best athlete, does he fit this? Is this something that I can convert? I convert players all the time. Cole Elvis is a converted catcher at Cal Berkeley. I had him as a third baseman pitcher as a sophomore in high school. He's throwing 86. Now he's throwing 94 out of the squat. It's crazy. The guy's got a cannon. He's actually in the mid 1.7s. So I can't wait to get him on the device and show, like, look, this is what a 1.7 looks like when you're throwing the ball in the low 90s and you're getting rid of it in the 0.7 or a 0.8, maybe even lower. I don't know. Depends on. There's a matrix there between how hard you're throwing and how quick you can get rid of it. So it'll help guys like me that teach good mechanics. It'll help players that have good mechanics. The device itself is simple. It's a lot of science in it, but it works very simply. So we're excited to get it on and show people, like, have the phone working with the device, collecting times in real time. And as that gets out there, we have to make sure that our production's already ready before we splash a lot of this video out, because we're going to sell a ton of them, and we're just trying to get the platform right, make sure that the major league level, those guys are happy with it, and we trickle it down from the top, because as those guys vet it and they like it, then that's going to be, as we tells us how far we're going to go with it, and there's lots of different people that are really excited, and me included. Ideally, I would have had the article come out another couple weeks from now, but it's out. So the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, and it's fine. We're patented. We've got everything ready to rock on the business side, and we've got some softball people we're interviewing right now. We've got a couple of baseball people that are into the whole circuit with camps and clinics, and we've got a couple of pro coaches identified to help us out. So I'm connected at the major league level pretty well with all the people we're getting it into. So that part's not going to be the hardest part. There is really not much hard part left. It's just watching it work, developing the program, and asking folks like you, what do you want it to do? You know, because this thing will do. It's a smart device like an iPhone. You can program it to do whatever you want. So we just had to come up with the idea. We had to get it into a shell. We had to spend the money on it, and we're upwards of $250,000 into the project. So it's everything I have. It's everything that, you know, the funding we've put together has been great. Got a great partner, Caleb Balbuena. He was a teammate of mine in Kansas City. We played for the T-Bones in the Northern League, and Caleb's got a really good pitching business that he does too. He does the same thing too. We're both coaches. We just love getting kids better. And it, to me, like, I can't play anymore. So to see my kids on TV, or to see my kids get a chance to do what I did and live this opportunity, it's a pretty cool device that's out there. So
Yeah, for
we're
sure. Well,
excited.
yeah, well, I'm excited too. Again, I want to get back to specifically how the device works. I'm sure a lot of people may not know what an accelerometer is or what it does. I'm a little bit familiar with it
Okay.
because I've done a little bit of iPhone development stuff. But for the people that, I just want to know the basics. Like, how does it actually
Okay.
measure when you catch the ball? How does it measure when you release the ball? And then the third trigger that's on the middle infielder, does that have to be at 127 feet, or can you use it indoors? You know, I'd love to know some things like that about it.
Yeah, you can definitely use it indoors. The accelerometer has been around for a while. It's got a Bluetooth sensor in it, so it's wireless technology. There's no wires on it. Can't see anything. But yeah, the accelerometer works like this. There's 3 crystals that work in unison, and they sense vibrations. So vibrations are they have strength to the vibration. So as a ball hits your glove at a certain impact, so you got to throw the ball at least 40 miles an hour to get it to start the clock. Once that happens, it starts. It's just like your scout, you know, or coach clicking the stopwatch. Then when it goes over to the wrist, as your wrist goes to max peak velocity, okay, the parts per second that the accelerometer in the wrist is moving, it's as soon as that plateau stops and the fingers decelerate and the arm decelerates, there's a plateau that's reached. And you go from, saying these numbers are not right, let's say you go from 80,000, you know, units per millisecond down to 50,000. That's the deceleration plateau. As soon as it hits the deceleration plateau, it clicks off that release time. So that's basically right as soon as your fingers start to slow down because of your shoulder, it stops the clock. That's just the release. So now you go from the part where it hits your glove, it starts, the release trigger, the plateau is hit, the threshold is met. It's so if you don't throw it very hard, it's going to go short. And it doesn't matter if the ball goes short, it matters down. The third part is where the catcher, where the guy catches it. If he reaches in front of the imaginary 127-foot line that we're talking about, mm-hmm. It'll collect the time. It just won't count it for a metric or an average because it's a short throw. So basically what we do is you put the catcher back to about 130 feet, which is right exactly where he stands. We've measured it. If you get to the back guy at the back end of the batter's box, and, you know, the catcher should kind of be able to touch his knee, right? We always kind of say that. Mm-hmm. You want to kind of, you know, reach out. You don't want to get too close. What that does is it starts him at 130. It gives him, you know, 3 feet of wiggle room, and it gives your shortstop 3 feet of wiggle room to go catch a short hop. So we're not trying to short throws. We're trying to get away from that guy throwing 122 feet and telling you he's throwing a 1.8, mm-hmm. you know, because that's fake. You know,
so does it actually measure the distance between the catcher and the middle infielder? So it'll tell you the exact inch. Oh wow. So if I make it, so if the
that's how we collect velocity. That's exactly how the velocity is collected. So you get those 2 metrics from the time that it goes, and then you got the actual distance. It just does a math problem. So for every time you throw the ball, you'll have 3 metrics come up: pop time, release time, and velocity. And it'll come up on one line per throw. It'll be time stamped. It'll go into a list. And as you throw your throws, you'll say, oh, this throw was a little bit better than that throw, or that throw is a little bit quicker than that throw. What on that one, noted. You did this on that one, noted. And these are your times. You know, you could tell a kid, hey, try to throw this one harder, and you're going to see how much slower the release is. So that's kind of the technology works. Did I explain that good enough as far as the
Yeah, I think so.
how it works?
But the velocity is it is calculated based on the time of the release is measured, and then the time of the catch in the middle infielder. It's not based off actual the hand speed. It's not measuring the speed of the hand, I guess.
No, it's measured off the distance from the trigger release to the time that it gets there, and then you do the math problem with the distance.
Okay.
So for example, if it's a 0.7 to release it, obviously, and let's say the guy throws it too flat, just for argument's sake, then it means it took that ball 1.3 seconds to get down to second base, and then you just do that, divide that by the distance, and you get a velocity through miles per hour.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
That's basically how we're doing it. I mean, when I get out there and see this thing work with actual major league players and pro guys, we're going to get video of it so that you can see side by side exactly how it does it.
No doubt.
And yeah, that part's exciting to me too. Like the scientist that I'm working with, he's great, but he's like, I'm not showing you this thing until it's exactly the way it's supposed to be. And I go, okay, good. So it's really hard for me to kind of sit here and, give you more detail than that. It's just as soon as we see it, I'll be seeing it too. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. You know, I think it's in my mind immediately, and you might have come up with a lot more applications than this, but I see two applications immediately pop out. One, there's the evaluation part. You know, if you're running a camp or a showcase, or you're trying to get recruited, you know, you want to have an accurate pop time represented, just like you would use a hit tracks to get your exit velocity, or you would use another tool, or Rapsodo to get your spin rate for a pitcher. You know, this gives us a reliable metric, but also the instructional side of it. Well, I think there's a lot of use there. You know, I'd love to be working with the guy and be able to play with his footwork a little bit and see how that changes his release time. You know, we might say, hey, let's try to shorten up your jab step a little bit, or let's try to whatever tweak we want to make. Maybe we want to try a replacement method. Maybe we want to try throwing from the knees. You know, that's one thing I've been talking about with some guys recently. I'm under the opinion that there's a number of guys that are able to get rid of the ball a little bit more quickly throwing from their knees than they are from their feet. Now, again, we both know that to do that in a game effectively, it takes a certain level of arm strength. There's no doubt about that. But I would love to measure
and a certain pitch to throw on too, right?
Absolutely. But I would love to measure, take catcher A and have him throw standing up and have a series of data and say, okay, your release time is consistently 0.75, and then have him throw from his knees and say, okay, now your release time is consistently 0.68. And then we have to look at the math and the numbers and see if the overall pop times, are better or worse. But it gives us a way to actually evaluate that without having to film on a high-speed camera and go back and count frames and do a lot of things. So I think there's a lot of applications. And I know you mentioned earlier, using it with middle infielders and other position players. I see a lot of value there as well. But for me, selfishly being a catching guy, I can see a lot of value in that. Now, I know you've mentioned it a couple times. Out of curiosity, I know it's not ready just yet. You're still in the kind of final, stages of testing. When do you expect it to be available, to the public?
Good question. And just to follow up on what you just said, your train of thought is exactly the way that I've been creating this device. It for coaches, because as me being a coach, and if you haven't read the article, you wouldn't know, but I'll give you a little quick. I herniated a disc in my back picking up my dad, and I was on my back for 6 months, couldn't make an income. So I didn't have this thing to be able to use. And then, now with this thing coming out, it's going to do exactly what you want it to do as a coach. It's going to do exactly what a player would want it to do. And it's just going to be a transparent device. As we go forward, it's going to go into other different applications, but it's all based on helping coaches help players. And like you said, like if you get a chance to see if you're quicker off your knees, this thing won't lie to you. It's not going to lie to you. So it's going to only tell you what's real. Yeah. What was the other question you just? I lost my train of thought.
When will it be available to the public? Like, so when can somebody like me get my hands on it, and when can other people who are listening? I know there was on Twitter the other day, and a lot of people said, "I want to get one of these," and I know they're anxious to see when it's available.
Well, absolutely. And what I've been told is that once the final version of it is basically, I don't know what you want, it's like done. it's going to take 8 weeks to get. We're going to build 10,000 of these things. So we've got our round of financing all ready to go. We're just waiting till so end of January is our final testing. The last week in January, we're going to be doing it down here in Phoenix. Got a bunch of guys ready to help me with it, and it should be 8 weeks after that. So we're thinking the beginning of April, end of March, and that would be best case scenario. That's with nothing going wrong. And obviously my engineer is very he always tells me, look, we're creating something that's never been created. So you have to realize when you invent something new, it's really difficult to say, hey, it will be done at this time, because there are bugs and things. We've been chasing bugs, and because when you have something that's this dynamic, it's not just say, hey, if it was that easy, someone would have already done it.
Right.
And I get that. And so I'm just kind of like trying to be the middle guy and say, hey, look, this is when we anticipate it. But when I went back I was talking with Mark Reed and Robbie Hammock, Jason Camilli, and the Diamondbacks last year. January was probably almost like today, a year ago. And in that conversation, Mark Reed said, look, if you can make this do release times, everyone in the world's going to want it. And at that point, it only did pop time. So I was like, well, do we go reinvest and take another year? And my answer is yes. And we did. So now that's why you haven't heard about it till now, is because it wasn't quite ready. And now it's more dynamic. Now it's going to be able to add so much more value that it was worth the year. It was worth the year. And
I believe it.
If you couldn't pick a better year to have, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, with 2020 being such a mess, I mean, it actually worked out fine for us. So we haven't lost any traction. We're actually going full speed ahead, and we're running downhill now. So we're excited.
Well, it sounds awesome, and most of the people who are listening to this or watching this are going to be baseball folks like me and you, but I know there's also a number of softball instructors and coaches and players as well.
Right.
Will there be a setting on the app or on the device where you can say, hey, let's switch from baseball to softball, and so softball players can use it as well?
Completely. Absolutely. The softball game is huge. Catchers there. I mean, catching in softball and baseball, as you know, is very, very, very similar. Obviously a little bit different on the running game, but not much. That metric, I've talked to some high-speed softball people that are in the industry, and they also agree that there's a really good application on softball. So we're not forgetting the girls. That, trust me, I'm getting ready to bring a brand ambassador aboard for softball completely. And I'm really excited about it, because I can't do it all. I'm wearing all the hats. I got one more partner with me, and I've got, some financial people that I'm working with on the back end. But as far as outreach, I'm only one person. So yeah, we got softball big time in the plan.
I assumed that was going to be the case. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. So I wanted to make sure in case anybody was listening.
Yep. I work with quite a few softball catchers, actually, between Arizona and California. And, girls are hard workers, and girls that like to catch are probably one of the coolest girls out there, because those girls it's not fun to get dirty all the time, but the girls that love to get dirty are my kind of girls. So those are the kind of girls that I like teaching, and, they're excited for it too, because anybody that wants an opportunity to go to college deserves that opportunity, and that's what this is going to do. So we're all in with the girls. So I got to get a few more people on board with me to help me on that side, because my finger's not exactly on that pulse. I do. I mean, I get it, but I mean, I work individually with people, and then until I connect with folks like you that are out there, it seems like we have the exact same mentality as far as what we're trying to do with our kids. We're trying to help get them better, and it's never been about me. It's never ever been about me. It's always been about creating something for the greater good.
Yeah. No, well, it sounds like in
this. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and it's going to be through people like you that help me get this word out. And I can't wait to get out there to Mississippi, and maybe we'll go hook up with Matt Duff and go do something fun.
Yeah, man, you count me in for that. It'd be a good time for sure.
Awesome.
I want to ask you a couple questions. So
we're all buddies.
No doubt. So we spent a number of time, a bit of time talking about the actual device. And earlier you kind of spoke about the software behind it. I'd love to know a little bit
Right.
more about that. I know you said there's going to be a leaderboard, and but
Right.
maybe if you wouldn't mind going in just a little bit more detail to know what the end user is going to see and feel. Again, they know they have a device they put on their mitt, their throwing hand, and then a middle infielder. But when they're actually using the device, it's going to sync up with their iPhone, and I'm assuming Android as well, probably.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
iPad, Android, iPhone. The application is going to be the caught stealing app.
mhm,
Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to you'll be able to download and have your own profile for, I think we're trying to make it really affordable. Like if you just want to collect your times only, you don't want to go on the leaderboard, it's going to be like $15 a month, $14.99 a month,
okay.
something that's affordable. So say if you're 13 or 12 and you don't want to pay the $25 a month to get on the recruiting leaderboard, you can just start collecting your times and building an average. That'll help coaches. So, and the other way that the software works is on the coaching side. So for you and I as coaches, we would be able to have our our $25 a month platform, and anybody that's on the platform also who already has a device, they can connect to you, for example, on the field or in your indoor place, as long as you got 127 feet to throw it. You can't, this thing won't work if you don't have the distance. I mean, it will work, it'll just short your throw, and you're not getting a legitimate time anyways if it's too short. So basically what I'm doing is we're going to create an indoor throwing league called the Caught Stealing Throwing League. So it's going to be an off-season throwing league for catchers to get ready for the season. And there'll be no hitters. It's just a pitcher, runner, infielder, first baseman, and a catcher. And we've got a whole platform to help get these kids in the opportunity, like without hitters in the way,
Mhm.
without the guy running and getting a good jump and then there's a foul ball. We're going to have the live stream to where coaches can, that are recruiting players, can look in on the live feed and watch the times come in, see the players throwing the balls, and see if that's something that they're interested in. So it's a recruiting platform from coaches and scouts position, and from players position, it's like we're just going to get out there and get opportunity to throw live as much as we can. The software is really interesting because we're building it as we go as far as what it does. Working with Jerry Weinstein on the infielder and catcher stuff over there with the Colorado Rockies.
Mhm.
Again, like I said, Mark Reed and Hammer over there with the D-backs. Camille's now with the Cincinnati Reds, so we're going to work with those guys too. Everybody, we're working with everyone. We want to get everybody's opinion on what they'd like it to do, and our software guys. So our software developer used to program F-16s for the Air Force.
Oh wow.
Like, so he's very good. He's been doing apps for 20 years. So when I brought this by him, he's like, yeah, man, this sounds fun. Let's do it. And so we got a couple of high-speed guys working for us, and it's been really fun to say, hey, look, can you do this? And they never say no. They're like, yeah, we'll do it. We can do it. It's just a matter of programming and writing checks, man. We're just writing checks and getting people to do what we want it to do. And the money's not the issue. Like, we want it to be proper. We want this thing to be where accuracy counts, the radar gun for catchers. And that's it. That's it. It solves all the problems of what these coaches and scouts are trying to do. Because yeah, if you want a guy, you might fudge the time a little bit. If he really hits and like, oh yeah, so we want to get rid of that. And if the guy needs to be a first baseman, let him go play first,
Sure.
because catching is where you win and lose games. You watch the major leagues, you watch the finals, you see the guys with the good defensive catchers that block balls. You don't give up bases. There's a metric there where every base you give up on a ball that should have been blocked, let's say, and this is not having anything to do with throwing, but you're losing the game right there. It's like a hole or a filter. It's like if your filter doesn't block what it's supposed to block, you're going to lose more games than you're going to win on that corner. And every single position has value to it. So what we're hoping to do is put the best player in the best position and help coaches, do less guessing at the
Yeah.
position, I guess you'd say, and have a little bit more real data to work with.
Yeah. Well,
So the
it sounds like it's
software
going to be a great tool
is
to
a
do that. Yeah.
work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah.
it.
It's fun.
I got one
It
other
can be
question for
whatever
you.
we
Something
want
that
it to be. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got one thing that came up. I was thinking about it a minute ago while you were speaking. So I know the accelerometer on the middle infielder's hand. It will time when they catch it. Will it also
Right.
time the catch to tag time, so we kind of get a feel for the accuracy as well? Is that something that would be in place?
You know what? Man, you were right on the pulse of this thing, dude. That's what Jerry was talking about with Colorado. That is going to be in the version 2 part of it, to where we're probably going to put a gyroscope in it for round 2, and that will be able to tell tag location and where the ball is inside of the strike zone, as far as the catching zone for an infielder. I call that like the strike zone where the ball hits. Yeah, and we're also going to come out with a potential device that you're not going to need a second baseman, something that's going to attach to a screen that will also pick up vibration, so that if you didn't have, for example, we want the single mom or single dad to be able to go out there and help her son or daughter with this, and you don't need to have a whole crew of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
You could eventually, obviously I'm talking down the road a little bit. We've already kind of ran this business out 5 or 10 years, and we're walking it back. As far as the getting things laid down, so far it's been just keep it simple. That KISS principle, just keep it simple. And as we get going, you're already seeing what we're talking about. That's exactly where we're going, Zan. We're going right to that. The more metrics we can add to it through biomechanics, through another piece of technology that we put inside of the same unit, then we're going to be more dynamic. And that's, first things first, we're not putting the cart before the horse. We're going to make sure this thing collects pop times, release times, and velocities, just like we say it does. And then we're going to get, probably get exactly what you're talking about. We'll have tag stuff. But I think, getting too far ahead of ourselves is kind of something we're staying away from. We want to keep it simple and make sure it does what we say it does, and then be who we are.
Well, I'm sure it's a gigantic undertaking. I know you talk about the money and time and just manpower and you got a lot of smart people helping you out with this thing, but I would imagine the sky is the limit. It's like I said, it sounds super interesting. I'm excited to get my hands on one. You've definitely got to keep me in the loop and let me know when some of the first models are available, because I want one for sure to use in my camps and with the guys I'm working with.
I'll probably hand deliver you one, my friend. We'll go do it together. I think that'd be a good reason to come out and
that'd be awesome. Yeah. Well, it might give me a good reason to, in case anybody's watching this in the future, it's the middle of January right now. So it'd give me a good reason to get out to Arizona and enjoy some nice weather, or maybe see a spring training game if the schedule works out.
Do that, man. Let's put that on the list of things to do, because I'll be able to show it to you here, no doubt.
I can get on board with that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would really love that.
Yeah, and it'll be a work trip for me, so I can. I'll tell my wife it's a work trip. I got to go to Arizona for the weekend, and I got to do it. So,
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. Let's do that. Now, you know what? I really appreciate you letting me kind of explain what's going on here. I apologize for having so much to say. It's just, there's a lot going on, and I have been busy, but it's the kind of busy I like. This is my baby. This is my lady. This is everything. I have nothing else in my life. So this is kind of like everything I'm doing is based on what the feedback says, on getting it right. I have no ego. I've lost that years ago. Taking care of a dad with ALS for 5 years gets rid of every bit of ego that you've ever had.
I bet.
This has gone way beyond me, and I'm just the facilitator, and I'm really excited about getting the opportunity to help a lot of people.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. And just to be honest, for me, when I read about a product like this, and it doesn't matter, not your product individually, but maybe a different pitching product or whatever piece of tech, there's stuff coming out all the time. I would say my outlook is always optimistic but skeptical. Like, oh man, I hope that thing does what it says it does, but at the same time it's kind of like, okay, I want to put my hands on it and I want to make sure it works before I can recommend it to people and do this and that. And knowing how much time you put into it and knowing kind of the team you built around yourself, it sounds like it is going to do what it's supposed to do. And I'm excited, man. There's probably not anybody more in the country that's more excited than me about this. So I think it's got a place at the big league level really and little league level as well. Yeah. So Matt, is there anything? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just to say everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. We've had, I mean, everything. So from people dying on us to, having people not do the job we paid them to do. I mean, we've experienced in the last 5 years of building this device. We started in 2016.
Wow.
So in the last 5 years, we've been through the gamut, and to be able to have our head above water, way above water, and have this thing getting ready to throw a nice little polish on it, it's fun. It's like the backside has been stressful, but it's fun.
Yeah, well, I'm not into the tech as much as you are. Obviously, I'm sure you know more about it than I do, but I know even the Bluetooth technology in 2016. I think the most recent Bluetooth is like Bluetooth 5.0, and it's gotten the range is much superior than what the old technologies were. So I would imagine there's a huge increase in the accuracy and the and just how well this thing works. Not just because you put time into it, but now the technology that wasn't available 5 years ago is available now, and it's just going to make it more accurate and better and all sorts of stuff. So I'm excited about that. Well, Matt, man, I definitely appreciate the time. Before I let you off here, just as a reminder to everybody listening and watching, the product is called Caught Stealing, and the website is caughtstealing.com. I know you've got an email newsletter people can sign up for so they can be notified when it's available.
Yep, absolutely. Just go on the website. Yeah, there's a form down there at the bottom. We're taking pre-order signups for the first 1,000. So if you want to be part of the first 1,000, they're going to go like hotcakes. So as soon as they're ready, we'll splash that out on social media. Caught Stealing Release Timer is the Instagram. I'm on Twitter too. It's C Steal LLC or Caught LLC at Caught LLC for Twitter. But you just type my name in, Matt Ciriani, or Caught Stealing, and those platforms will come up. And that's all we got right now. Is we're going to do as many Zooms and YouTubes as we can. We're going to get the information out for people, and then just keep you guys coming back. I'm actually kind of glad that it came out a little before we're ready, because now we can talk a little bit more about the details of it. And then when it comes out, everybody will know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, you go ahead and count me, and I don't want to be one of the first 1,000. I want to be the first one to buy one. So you got to you got to keep me in the loop. And
somebody's got to be number one.
That's right. It's got to be somebody.
We'll get you a plane flight.
There you go. But yeah. So everybody who's listening, I will put your information on the screen, and I'll link it down below so that everybody make sure to find you on Twitter and Instagram, and your website as well. But Matt, man, I think it's an awesome product. I'm looking forward to trying it, and I appreciate what you're doing. I know taking on, a project like this, it's probably scary in the beginning. I know there's a huge investment, and it sounds like it's for a really good cause. And like I said, I'm looking forward to trying it because I think it's going to be able to help and change the way a lot of people coach and play behind the plate. So thanks for getting into this, man. I know it's a big project, but it sounds like you're doing a great job with it.
Thank you, Zan. I appreciate it. It's we'll keep this thing rolling, and you'll be the first to know when things are ready to rock.
You got it, man. Thanks again, Matt, for coming on, and I look forward to talking to you again soon when you got an update for me.
All right, man. Hotty toddy. Thanks
again,
Zan.
Thanks.